Discover what happens when you seek God in despair, the shocking truth revealed. On a stormy night in a small town, a deafening crash echoed through the darkness. A tree, aged and twisted by time, shattered like glass against the earth. This wasn't just any night, it was the beginning of something nobody could foresee. In the throes of despair, Sarah, a single mother with the weight of the world on her shoulders, found herself at the edge of what she knew as reality. Torn between frantic whispers of the townsfolk and her own thoughts, she yearned to find out what lay beyond the veil of her suffering. Little did she know, the answers she sought were entwined with strange happenings that would shake her faith to its core. The air was thick with an inexplicable energy, a sensation of something otherworldly lurking just beyond sight. Shadows danced along the worn paths of the town, making the hairs on the back of her neck stand on end. Locals murmured tales of glowing orbs in the forest, believed to be spirits searching for closure. A creeping numbing sensation gripped her heart. Could it be true? And what did it mean for her? Was she destined to unravel a secret beyond human comprehension? Each night wound tighter around her mind, the relentless thoughts echoing like an unsettled drum. The flickering streetlights played tricks on her, casting elongated silhouettes that felt sinister yet captivating. She'd catch glimpses of figures just out of frame, but when she turned, nothing would be there. Sarah's chest tightened as she recalled the old legends that spoke of devils and angels waging a silent war over the town, their echoes barely visible to the naked eye yet potent enough to seep into one's soul. Just as all hope seemed lost, an unexpected event changed everything. On a misty morning, Sarah received a cryptic letter slipping through her door. It simply read, "Seek the light in your darkest hour, and the truth shall reveal itself." Was this a sign? An omen? Tension gripped her, spinning her thoughts into a spiral of fear and wonder. The clock ticked louder in her house, urging her to make a choice to plunge deeper into the unknown. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With a mixture of hope and dread, Sarah steeled herself to venture into the woods where the glowing orbs had been seen. The prophecy of the letter echoed in her mind. Was she ready to confront whatever awaited her? Nightfall brought enveloping shadows as she stepped into the canopy, a place where shadows merged and the echoes of the past whispered against her ears. Her heart raced. The air buzzed. And in the distance, she thought she spotted a flicker of light. Was it calling her? The question lingered, what true horrors or wonders awaited her within the embrace of the trees? The eerie glow pulsed ahead of her, beckoning Sarah deeper into the woods. Each step felt like a confession, a surrender to the anticipation pinching at her gut. The trees loomed overhead like ancient sentinels, their twisted branches clawing at the sky. The whispers of the wind swirled around her, carrying a chill that burrowed into her skin. As she ventured further, the light shifted, wavering as if it had a heartbeat. Her breathing quickened, anxiety tangling with a strange sense of purpose. The path beneath her feet was soft, muffled by leaves that whispered secrets of their own. In the distance, the flicker turned into a small orb, hovering just above the ground. It sparkled like a fragment of the moon caught in a trap of branches. Is anyone there? Her voice trembled, swallowed by the thick night air. For a brief moment, silence enveloped her, punctuated only by the rustle of leaves. Then, a soft chime, almost musical, echoed around her. The orb pulsed again, brighter, illuminating her surroundings just enough to reveal shadows that twisted and danced in the periphery. Sarah found herself drawn to the light, as if it held the answers she desperately sought. Just before she reached it, the orb flickered violently, casting eerie shadows that morphed into figures, a man and a woman, their faces shrouded in darkness, anguish etched across their features. Her heart pounded furiously as her instincts screamed to turn back. "What do you want?" she whispered, but they remained silent, their eyes fixed on the orb, an expression of yearning on their faces that echoed her own desires. Panic clawed at her throat. She had come seeking light, but now she felt ensnared by darkness. Suddenly, the orb exploded in a burst of white light, illuminating a space filled with translucent shapes swirling around her. Voices filled the air, an unsettling cacophony of sobs and gasps, reverberating with despair. Sarah stumbled back, her heart racing as she shielded her eyes, trying to comprehend the sight. Beneath the phosphorescent glow, she caught glimpses of memories: children playing, lovers embracing, families gathered around dinner tables, all shadowed by an undercurrent of sorrow. Each scene played out, entwined with fleeting images of sorrowful faces searching for something, someone. "Why are you showing me this? What does it mean?" Her voice broke through the noise, tearing away the fog of confusion. The air thickened, and the lights dimmed, leaving her surrounded by the specters of loss. But just when she thought the despair would consume her, the orb pulsed again. A sudden calm enveloped her, flooding the space with warmth. The figures began to resolve, she could see them clearer now. They were lost souls, still tethered to the town, seeking acceptance, love, closure just like her. Then, a man emerged from the shadows, one she recognized from her past. His eyes, filled with pain yet full of understanding, locked onto hers. In that moment, Sarah felt the world snap into focus. This was more than a meeting of spirits, it was an invitation to confront her own demons, a chance to mend broken connections that reached beyond the grave. Just as she opened her mouth to call out to him, the orb soared into the treetops, leaving Sarah shivering in the cold night air. The voices crescendoed into a nightmarish symphony, and from the depth of the shadows, something wicked stirred, watching closely, waiting. Could she truly face not just her past but the hidden truths lurking in the darkness? As the temperature dropped around her, one question loomed: would she be brave enough to unearth the secrets that the night concealed? The silence was suffocating. Each beat of Sarah's heart bounced back off the twisted trunks, whispering doubts that clawed at her sanity. She caught her breath, fighting against the chill that nipped at her skin, willing herself to step forward. "What do you want from me?" she shouted, her voice drowned in the stillness hanging heavy in the air. The shadows quivered in response, flickering like candle flames before a sudden wind. The orb pulsed again, and the memory-filled voices surged in intensity, flooding her mind with a rush of faces, feelings, and missed opportunities. The warmth that had enveloped her barely held back the cold clenching around her heart. A small child's laughter cut through the chaos, freezing her in place. She recognized the sound. It belonged to her niece, lost too soon in the tragedy that had reshaped her life. "Emma." Sarah's voice broke, wavering between hope and despair. The laughter faded, replaced by a soft weeping that gnawed at her insides. She stepped closer to the flickering light, desperate to grasp the fragments of her past hovering just out of reach. Suddenly, the figures re-emerged, their eyes widening as if urging her to see. The man, the one she had known so intimately yet lost profoundly, stepped forward again, his presence magnetic. Her chest tightened. Could he really be there, or was it another cruel illusion of the woods? "Sarah," he whispered, his voice echoing with a mix of sorrow and gentleness. It broke her heart, yet it strengthened her resolve. "Why did you leave me?" she cried. "Why did you have to go?" The man's eyes glistened with unshed tears, as if every memory they shared flickered between them. "It was never my choice," he said, raspy with age and pain. "Our love, it transcends. You were meant to find me here. What do you want from me?" She pressed again, desperate for answers that felt miles away. "Closure," he replied, extending an ethereal hand toward her, brushing against the edge of the glowing orb. "We are bound by the moments we never had. Seek the truth not just of my disappearance, but your own. You've buried your grief, hidden your guilt. Now is the time to face it." Just then, the air shifted. The light dimmed, casting a veil of shadows over the delicate forms behind him. The winds rustled through the trees, a foreboding warning as some of the apparitions began to shimmer with hostility. Faces twisted into grimaces of anger and betrayal, encircling her like a storm. Sarah gasped, stepping back, but the ground felt unyielding beneath her, anchoring her in place. Fear gripped her throat as she sensed their collective rage, amplifying her own turmoil about the unresolved past. The glowing orb flashed rapidly, a warning sign blaring in her mind that algorithm of light and shadow. She realized she stood at a precipice. Delve into the glories and the horrors of her memories or flee blindly, leaving everything behind, including the chance to reclaim what had been lost. Remember, Sarah, the man's voice echoed through the storm. The truth can set you free, but it can also shatter you. As the figures howled and surged forward, the orb flickered wildly, threatening to extinguish in the rising chaos. Sarah's heart raced, teetering on the edge of a dark abyss. Could she confront the pain that had haunted her? Would she find strength or succumb to fear? With one resolute breath, she faced the shadows. The time had come to confront them all. But even as she prepared to step into the maelstrom, another sound rippled through the dark, a deep, chilling growl that rumbled from the depths of the woods, a warning that not all the darkness was merely haunting memories. What creature lay waiting in the shadows, and would Sarah find the courage to overcome it? The growl echoed through the trees, vibrating through Sarah's bones, a warning that twisted her insides into knots. The shadows seemed to pulse with newfound energy, their hostility crackling with an intensity that clawed at her throat. Panic surged in her chest as she felt the earth tremble beneath her feet. "Stay back," she shouted, her voice rising above the cacophony of anguish that surrounded her. The memories flickered like dying fireflies, their luminescence barely piercing the thick darkness. She wanted to retreat, to escape, but the figure of the man stood before her, unwavering and resolute. "Sarah." His voice sliced through the whimpering shadows. "You cannot turn away. This has to be faced." Her heart thundered. With a swallow, she steadied herself, forcing her trembling legs to take one bold step forward, against the tide of despair that threatened to drag her under. The growl rumbled again, closer this time, more sinister. What kind of monster lurked in the fringes of her nightmares? "Emma needs you," the man urged, his presence solid but the shadows encroaching like a flood. As if summoned by her thoughts, a vision emerged from the darkness, the image of her niece, small and fragile, filled with life and laughter. Yet now, instead of joy, there was a pallor in Emma's gaze, a sense of longing that twisted Sarah's gut. "Help her," the man whispered, his hand still beckoning her. "Find the courage that lies within." A light flickered within her, a spark of defiance igniting through layers of regret. With each breath, she sifted through the cold fear wrapping around her heart, replacing it with the warmth of love she had for Emma. But in that moment, the shadows recoiled, the growl shifted, morphing into a monstrous screech that echoed like the wails of the lost. The figures shifted, their faces contorting into screams of anguish, their eyes blazing with anger. "You abandoned us," they cried in unison. "You chose to forget." Each accusation trickled into her soul like icy daggers. Their words pierced through the fog of denial Sarah had cloaked herself in for years. "You were my past," she gasped, feeling the suffocating weight of their judgment. But she fought back. "No. I won't let you hold me captive anymore." With each word, a dying flame flickered inside her. She squeezed her eyes shut, focusing on the man's face, their shared memories wrapping around her like a lifeline. "You taught me love. You taught me strength. I can take your pain if it means I can save her." Silence. Then a piercing howl erupted, shaking the roots of the trees. The shadows hesitated, perplexed by her resistance, but just as her resolve swelled, the ground around began to crack. Something immense stirred beneath, sending tremors through the earth. "Look out!" The man shouted, but it was too late. The earth erupted in a geyser of anguish, a grotesque creature bursting forth, a grotesque amalgamation of darkness and sorrow. Eyes like burnt coals locked on Sarah, filled with primal rage. She staggered back, realizing that not only must she face her past, but now she had to contend with a beast born of it. "Please!" She screamed, her voice barely cutting through the chaos. I want to share this pain. I want to end this suffering. The creature roared, deafening, as it lunged toward her. Embers of hope faced off against a nightmare born from despair, but in the eye of this storm, could she rally the strength to fight something so deeply rooted in her own fear? As her heart raced, the shadows sharpened around her, waiting, watching. What would she risk to confront the truth lurking within, and would she be strong enough to survive? Sarah's breath caught in her throat as the creature charged. It felt like time slowed, each heartbeat echoing in her ears as primal dread held her in place. The shadows writhed, thick and oppressive, as if they were alive, squeezing the air around her. Move! The man shouted, his voice urgent, slicing through the fog of terror wrapping around her. With a sudden jolt, Sarah stumbled to the side, narrowly avoiding the creature's snarl, its jagged teeth glinting like glowing knives. She felt the gust of wind from its angry rush whoosh past her face. The heat of despair radiated from it, and in that moment, she understood it wasn't just feeding on her fear, it fed on all the sorrow she had buried deep within. Sarah, remember why you fight. The man called out, urgency lacing his tone. Emma flashed into her mind again, tiny fingers grasping her hand, laughter ringing like bells. That warmth threatened to extinguish the icy grip of despair the creature had on her. With renewed determination, Sarah turned to face the anger incarnate. Get away from her! She shouted, the words exploding from her lips. The power behind them echoed through the darkness, laced with an undeniable truth: she was not alone in this fight. The creature hesitated, a flicker of confusion crossing its monstrous visage. For an instant, Sarah saw the rage reflect not just in its grotesque features but also in the shadows swirling around it. Were they manifestations of her own sorrow? Her own neglect? Yes, she breathed, her voice strengthening. You are part of me. I see you. I embrace you. The shadows wavered, letting out a low hiss that vibrated through the ground. Sarah stepped closer, feeling the heat radiating off the creature's hulking form. She summoned every memory she had of Emma's bright spirit, every moment of warmth, laughter, and love. I won't hide anymore. She screamed. You can't have Emma. You cannot hold her captive. The creature recoiled, and as it did, a wave of energy surged from Sarah, spiraling outward, pushing against the darkness. She felt the man beside her, a steady presence, his energy merging with hers, fueling her fight. Together, they formed a barrier against the swirling torment, illuminating the shadows like a beacon. The monster howled, a sound that shattered the air, clawing at Sarah's resolve. You think you can defeat me? It snarled, its voice a cold, bitter wind. I don't need to defeat you. Sarah shouted, standing tall. I just need to understand you. I felt your pain, but I felt love too. Love is stronger. As she spoke those words, she focused on the light growing within her. A blinding radiance erupted, piercing through the layers of thick darkness, and she harnessed it, shaping it like a shield. The shadows around her flared, momentarily exposed to the purity of her conviction. The creature faltered, shaking its head as if battling an unseen force. For the first time, doubt flickered in its coal-black eyes. Join me, Sarah, it hissed, a desperate plea underneath its venomous roar. You can't shake your past. It's in you. No. She countered fiercely. My past doesn't own me. I am not what you've made me. With a pulse of sheer will, the light surged forward with a brilliance that rivaled the sun, engulfing the darkness. The beast screamed, a sound so anguished that it rattled the very ground, but Sarah stood firm. Could they turn this moment into a release? Would the shadows finally break free from the chains of despair? As the blinding light pierced deeper, Sarah felt the world around her begin to shift. Was it enough to save them both, to sever the twisted ties binding her to the darkness? And then, just as the darkness began to dissolve, a piercing silence fell over the chaos. The world held its breath, leaving Sarah poised on the brink of redemption or destruction. What awaited beyond this critical moment? Would she emerge, reborn from the ashes, or would the shadows envelop her once more? A crack of light sliced through the darkness, illuminating Sarah's determined face. She felt the energy-shifting tension crackled in the air like raw electricity, and a strange calm seeped into her racing heart. But the creature was not finished. Its howl echoed back, more desperate, more feral, teeth gnashing in frustration. The shadows around it began to pulse, swirling with a menacing rhythm, each pulse synchronizing with Sarah's heartbeats. The ground shook, as if lamenting the battle for her soul. "Feel the weight of your past, Sarah." It screamed, the guttural voice laced with segments of her memories. Each hurtful word stung like ice, reminding her of the chains her sorrow once forged. "Stop!" she yelled, anger surging against her pain. "I want to let you manipulate me like this." With an urge stronger than fear, Sarah thrust her arm forward, channeling her memories of light, warmth, and love. The radiant energy poured from her, flickering like 100 candles against the storm. It twisted through the shadows, and for a heartbeat, she could see them shifting, no longer just dark blurs of despair but forms of lost hope battling for recognition. "Emma," she whispered, the name a lifeline. A burst of light engulfed the creature, and with it, she saw reflections of her daughter, bright, joyful, unbroken. Drained, yet still standing beside her in spirit. The moment hung suspended, neither of them daring to breathe. The creature recoiled again, uncertainty sliding into its gaze, but it was still filled with fury. "You think you can save them? You've already lost so much," it cried, rage mixed with a hint of desperation, claws raking at the air. "No," Sarah shouted, shaking her head fiercely. "What I lost can't compare to what I still have: my love for Emma, the fight in me." With a roar that echoed into the night, she summoned the light again, this time more potent, more raw. It rippled, zigzagging through the shadows, illuminating every anguished face trapped within. She felt their pain resonate, and all at once, she understood. The shadows weren't simply remnants of her sorrow. They were souls lost, alone, seeking solace through her strength. Focusing on them, Sarah summoned love and compassion, not just for herself but for every forgotten whisper. "Join me," she cried. "We are stronger together." It was a release. Her heart swelled, and her body vibrated with energy as the moment exploded into a kaleidoscope of colors. The shadows surged forward, entangling the creature in a web of souls. The beast wailed, a sound that sliced through the air, resonating with agony. "No. You can't take me away." It screamed, but the light pressed on, unfaltering. In one final surge, Sarah drove the light deeper, feeling a connection tethering it all: herself, the souls, her love for Emma, and even the creature. They were all threaded together by pain and fierce resilience. The moment hung heavy as the creature started to dissolve, its form shifting back into the darkness surrounding them. "You don't understand," it hissed, its eyes wide with panic. "I am what you fear, what you have become." "No," Sarah declared firmly, "you are not my fate." As the radiance pulsed, the creature shrieked, darkness battling against light in an epic clash that echoed through the very fabric of her world. And then, an implosion. Silence reigned as everything went dark. Sarah felt the weight of nothingness and absence. It was cold. No, not just cold. It was a void so deep, it felt like falling into an abyss with no bottom in sight. Fear clawed at her throat, but just then, a glimmer caught her eye, a sparkle of warmth in the unfathomable dark. A voice, sweet and soft, echoed through the vastness. "Mommy." Before she could grasp its meaning, the darkness shifted, and Sarah sensed something more. What had happened to the creature? Did a sliver of that dark remain, or had it truly vanished? And just what awaited her amidst the embrace of that familiar voice? The darkness wrapped itself around Sarah like a shroud, thick and suffocating. But the voice, Emma's voice, was a beacon, a flicker of light in the vast emptiness. It filled her with a mix of hope and dread. "Mommy." The word pulled her in like gravity, drawing her towards its origin. Heart racing, she took a step forward, but the darkness felt like a wall, pushing back against her. The air grew heavier, almost alive with anticipation. "Emma!" she shouted, her voice echoing but swallowed by the void. "Where are you?" Panic surged within her. She could feel the emptiness clawing at her sanity, threatening to break her if she lingered too long. The shimmer of warmth began to swell, growing brighter. With a rush of determination, Sarah dared to push forward through the darkness. She reached out, grasping for something, anything, to guide her through the murk. Each ounce of her strength was fueled by her love and memories of her daughter's laughter, her playful spirit, the warmth intensified, wrapping around her fingers like threads of sunlight. "Mommy!" The voice came again, this time closer, filled with familiarity and yearning. Just beyond the veil of shadows, Sarah could feel her pulse quickening, a thrumming that matched the energy in the air. Suddenly, a shape blurred into vision, a small figure bathed in soft light. Sarah felt her heart explode with both joy and anxiety as she rushed closer. "Emma!" she cried, reaching out. "Is it really you?" But as she approached, the figure shifted into a silhouette that looked too familiar, too haunting. The shape twisted, contorting as if it were struggling against the shadows. "Help me, Mommy, please." The words trembled with urgency. "Hold on!" Sarah shouted, lunging forward, but the shadows struck back, breaking her momentum. Each step felt like dragging a boulder through thick mud. The creature's voice from before echoed in her mind, its malevolence lurking in the corners of her consciousness. "You can't save her," it taunted, a sibilant whisper that sent chills racing down her spine. "You are the darkness, Sarah. It's inside you." "No!" she screamed defiantly, shaking her head. "Emma is my light. I refuse to believe you." With sheer will, she pushed against the primal shadows, feeling the warmth of her daughter's spirit pulling her forward. The silhouette flickered, revealing more than just a child. It was a mirror reflecting all that she had lost, all that she fought to reclaim. "Mommy, please!" The cry broke through the void, fragile yet fierce. Sarah's heart clenched. It was then she realized that this was not just about Emma. It was every time she had given in to sorrow, every moment she had felt unworthy, every darkness that threatened to swallow her whole. Summoning everything within her, she shouted into the abyss, "We are more than our pain. I won't let it break us." Light burst from within, her essence radiating like a supernova. It crashed against the darkness, illuminating every corner until it shattered the shrouded figures. "Join me!" she called again, her voice fierce with resolve. The shadows shrieked, reflexively retreating as the light surged forth. She felt the remnants of lost souls whispering alongside her, uniting with her spirit and growing flared with passion and defiance. Then, just as the light reached its zenith, the darkness shattered like glass, exploding in a riot of color and sound. Each fragmented piece sparked memories from her past: love, loss, laughter. Sarah let them wash over her, welcoming the bittersweet, for they were powerful reminders of her strength. As the last shard of darkness dissolved, she found herself kneeling on solid ground. Panting, heart pounding, Sarah looked around, desperate for her daughter. "Emma!" she shouted, fear creeping back into her mind, and then, a figure emerged from the radiance. It was her, or was it Emma? She appeared both young and timeless, eyes sparkling with both mischief and wisdom. The shadow of the creature loomed at the edge of Sarah's vision, whispering things she couldn't quite hear. "Is that really you?" Sarah's heart raced, torn between joy and uncertainty. In the corner of her eye, she could still feel the lingering presence, dark and pervasive. Had it truly been vanquished, or was it just waiting for its moment to strike again? "Mommy, come with me." Emma extended her hand, her eyes filled with unspoken secrets. But Sarah hesitated. What if accepting this hand meant walking back into a new darkness? The choice loomed before her, heavier than ever. What would she find if she followed? Would she be led into the light, or deeper into the shadows? As she reached for her daughter, doubt twisted around her heart. And just as their fingers were about to touch, the ground trembled beneath them, drawing her back. "Sarah!" The lingering shadow hissed, its voice low and filled with foreboding. You haven't escaped yet. With a new surge of adrenaline, she had to decide. Would she gamble everything for a chance to save what she loved most? The moment pulsed, waiting. And as the ground beneath her shifted, Sarah felt the answer slipping through her fingers. Just as Sarah felt the trembling earth threatening to pull her away, an unimaginable burst of energy surged from her core. The darkness shrieked, but the sound faded, replaced by the overwhelming force of her love pushing her towards Emma. "Don't let go!" she yelled, her voice clawing through the chaos. The shadows, ink-black and oppressive, writhed at the edges of her vision, clawing to drag her into their embrace. But the light, Emma's light, was stronger. Sarah focused, reaching across the widening chasm and bridging the distance with desperation. "Just a little closer," she pleaded. The cold air stung her lungs, but the warmth from Emma's smile ignited the very marrow of her bones. Yet, as she strained to bridge that last sliver of space, the ground quaked more violently, and a piercing howl echoed through the emptiness. It felt almost like a tangible force, an accusation. "You think you can defy me?" The creature's hiss slithered through the air, it felt cold and ancient. "Emma, hold on." The young girl's face darkened, and doubt flickered across her features. "Mommy, I'm scared," she whispered, her voice trembling with fear. For a moment, she seemed to falter, her light dimming, almost as if the shadows were reaching to extinguish her glow. "No." The word erupted from Sarah's throat. Panic clawed at her chest. "You are not afraid. Remember the games we played? The stories we shared?" A beam of light pierced the thick haze, illuminating Emma's face. Memories flooded Sarah's mind, the laughter, the tear-streaked smiles, the tiny and precious moments that made everything worth fighting for. As long as they were together, they could conquer the darkness. "Join me, Emma," she urged, her voice cracking but steadied with conviction. With every fiber of her being, Sarah forced the warmth from her heart to travel through her fingertips, a physical touch that brushed against Emma's outstretched hand. The shadows recoiled with a hiss, an angry flurry of dark smoke dancing away from her presence. "Mommy!" Emma cried again, realization washing over her. The light surged brighter, blooming with renewed strength as it melded with Sarah's essence. The unseen forces around them pushed violently, threatening to pull them apart, but the connection between them flared a lifeline against the storm. Then, with a blinding flash, their fingertips touched, igniting a radiant spark brighter than the sun. They were drawn together, rushing through the maelstrom of darkness and despair. "Together!" Sarah shouted, locking her eyes onto Emma's. "We are stronger together." As the world around them crackled with energy, the shadows shrieked in protest, writhing like snakes caught in a smoldering flame. But it was too late. The darkness couldn't withstand the bond they shared. It shimmered, then splintered, fracturing into millions of pieces. With a violent roar, the remnants of the shadowy creature flared and exploded into dust, leaving only a calm stillness in its wake. Gasping, Sarah found herself in a new world, radiant colors illuminating her surroundings. The air was sweet, even the light felt different, warm, inviting. "Mommy? Is it safe now?" Emma's voice was small, barely above a whisper, catching her breath as she took in the vivid beauty around them. For a heartbeat, hope surged within Sarah, and she realized they had escaped together, but then, a cold breeze swept through, chilling her heart as the realization struck. The shadows might have fragmented, but they were never truly gone. The dark creature was simply lurking, observing, waiting for the perfect moment to return. "Not yet," Sarah murmured, looking around her, heart racing. "It's still here." As Emma's eyes sparkled with innocence, a thought shot through Sarah's mind, a question that trembled on her lips. "Where do we go from here?" The landscape shifted, twisting and turning like a roller coaster of colors before their eyes, leaving them suspended in a choice they could hardly comprehend. What dangers lay ahead? And would they be ready to face whatever lurked in the corners of this new world? The ground quaked. Again, an echo of something dark beneath. Sarah had to choose quickly: would they venture deeper into the unknown, or retreat to the safety of their memories? And just as the winds picked up around them, carrying whispers of the past, she felt that familiar chill creep down her spine. "Hold on, Emma. We have to keep moving." And as they trudged ahead, the shadows' whispers crescendoed, promising a darkness that would leave them forever changed. As they pressed forward, the vivid colors of the new world began to fade, transforming into muted hues that felt like a sunset caught in a perpetual twilight. Sarah's heart raced, echoing with the tremors of the ground below. The whispers grew louder, curling around them like thin tendrils of smoke, nagging at her instincts. "Mommy, where are we?" Emma's voice was a thread of childlike curiosity, but fear crept into her tone. I don't know," Sarah admitted, glancing back toward where they had come from. The beauty of their escape was dimming. "But we have to stay together. No matter what." As they moved, the ground beneath their feet felt unstable, shifting like quicksand. Sarah struggled to maintain her balance, reaching out to steady Emma. A quiet fear settled into her chest, a growing understanding that they were not simply lost but being hunted. Suddenly, a shape flickered at the edge of their vision, dark and fleeting. It was unlike any creature Sarah had seen, a silhouette contorted in a grotesque dance. The shadows pulsed, regularly tightening and loosening like a dark heartbeat. "You can't escape me, Lightbearers," a cruel voice reverberated through the air. "Emma, stay close," Sarah urged, grabbing her daughter's hand tightly. Panic surged, the terrifying recognition of the darkness materializing behind them threatening to drown her resolve. "We need to find shelter." Sarah felt her voice waver as she searched for a safe haven. There, just ahead, loomed a hollowed-out tree, gnarled with age. "Quick, this way," she commanded, pulling Emma along as they ran. The ground trembled again, and Sarah could feel the rage of the creature behind them, like the vibrations of a drum heralding a war. They dove into the hollow tree, breath mingling with the earthy scent of damp wood. The sounds of shadows clawing at the entrance surged, a cacophony of angry whispers that threatened to snatch away their hope. They crouched in the dimness, hearts pounding in rhythm. "I don't want to be here, Mommy," Emma cried, tears glistening in her wide eyes. "Neither do I, sweet girl. But we'll figure this out, I promise." Sarah tried to pull confidence into her voice, but doubt gnawed at her gut like a hungry beast. The shadows writhed at the edges of the hollow. Sarah could sense their frustration, the creature's fury at being thwarted. Yet in that moment, something unprecedented stirred within her, a flicker of courage. It didn't result from the memories they shared, but from a fierce instinct to protect Emma at all costs. "You want us? Come at us," she shouted into the darkness, the challenge echoing like a war cry. "Mommy!" Emma gasped, her small hand squeezing Sarah's tightly. But Sarah's fierce declaration had unexpected consequences. The shadows recoiled as if stung, the voice lost in the shifting void, replaced by a moment of eerie silence. "Emma, we might have a chance," she breathed, pulling the child closer. "Do you think it'll work?" Emma asked, her innocence juxtaposed against the gravitas of their predicament. "I don't know," Sarah admitted, "but we won't let fear define us." As the seconds ticked by, a myriad of emotions, resolve, dread, and love flooded Sarah's mind. The dark creature lurked outside their sanctuary, but something was changing. A pulse of energy hummed faintly in the hollow tree, vibrating against Sarah's skin. Were their spirits strong enough to change the course of their fate? But just then, a crack split the air. The shadows had found their way in. "Emma, whatever happens in that fleeting moment," Sarah knew the truth, it was either fight or be consumed. She had to choose. A desperate gamble awaited them on the other side of the darkness, but would they emerge or become a part of it, lost forever in the shadows? Her heart raced with unknowing tension, making the ground tremble beneath them once more. As the shadows poured in like a tide, she realized they had awakened something much bigger than themselves. What that something was, remained shrouded in darkness. Sarah felt the breath of darkness clawing at her heels, the chilling shadows chasing relentlessly as she clutched Emma's hand, a lifeline in the swirling storm of despair. The hollowed tree began to tremble, shaking like the very ground beneath them was protesting their presence. She could feel the creature's rage vibrating in the air, a silent threat echoing like a war drum fanning the flames of her fear. In that moment of desperation, Sarah took a breath infused with determination. "We are not afraid of you," she shouted, tossing her voice into the suffocating darkness. "You don't own us anymore." The shadows shrieked, twisting and turning, a violent response to her resolve. Sarah turned to Emma, watching her daughter's eyes widen with fear and admiration. Emma needed reassurance. "Remember, no matter what happens, love is our strongest weapon," Sarah whispered, squeezing her hand tighter. The child nodded solemnly, drawing the courage from her mother that had flickered like a tiny flame. Just then, the ground shook again, tremors reverberating through the air as the dark creature roared from outside, its hot breath curling like smoke. "I will consume you both. You think love can shield you?" It hissed, the voice layered with mocking laughter. The shadows danced, swirling relentlessly, their rage undeniable. But Sarah pulled Emma closer, more determined than ever. "We're together. And together, we can withstand anything." With a mad burst of energy, Sarah stood up and faced the entrance, feeling something within her shift, a primal force that surged through her veins. She discovered strength in vulnerability. "Bring it on!" she yelled into the void, feeling the warmth of Emma beside her like a lifebuoy in raging seas. "You think you can scare us? Our love is greater than your darkness." In an instant, the shadows recoiled, a moment of hesitation coursing through them, as if her words were a light cutting through the suffocating dark. Sarah took that second to channel every ounce of light within. "I embrace my past," she cried defiantly, feeling the memories swirl around her, every moment of laughter, love, sorrow, and loss all colliding into a mighty explosion of radiant energy. The shadows twitched, growing denser as if they were being pulled towards her light, their screaming voices in chaos, swirling in disbelief. "Mommy!" Emma gasped, her small hand gripping Sarah's with innocent fury. "You can do it." With a surge of resolve, Sarah focused on the connection they shared, a bond that no despair could sever. She shoved her fear aside and channeled every ounce of love, every joyful memory. "Together!" she yelled, and Emma echoed, "Together!" The air thickened, pulsing with energy as the combined force of their spirits ignited. The darkness screeched, echoing against the walls of the hollow tree like a caged beast. The creature loomed just outside, intense and towering. But they stood firm, a united front against the swirling chaos. In that crucial moment, the shadows lashed out once more. The ground split beneath them, and with sheer determination, Sarah pushed forward, arms extended. "We are not afraid," she bellowed. The light erupted from them, spilling out in vibrant hues, cascading through the dark like a stunning sunrise piercing dawn. The shadows convulsed and thrashed, weak against the tidal wave of love that surged forth. "You," the creature hissed, panic leaking through its voice. "You cannot," but Sarah pressed on, feeling the spirit of Emma blaze within her. "You're part of my past but not my future," she declared, unleashing a brilliant wave of light that engulfed the darkness. And then it happened. The darkness erupted in a violent explosion, echoing with a final, feral scream before disintegrating into shimmering dust that floated like tiny stars in the vast expanse. Exhausted but victorious, Sarah collapsed to the ground, breathless. "Mommy!" Emma threw her arms around her, warmth enveloping them both, drawing them away from the chaos. As the luminous remnants began to settle, they found themselves back in the vibrant world that had briefly dimmed, colors glittering, the warmth of the sun covering them like a snug blanket. The air felt lighter, infused with a sweetness that tinged every breath. They stood, gazing at the scene unfolding, no shadows lurking, no darkness threatening. Just light. "We did it," Sarah whispered, eyes brimming with tears of relief. We faced it together. But then, she felt a soft flutter of unease. The shadows might have fled today, but they knew they could always return. They would have to remain vigilant. Emma looked up with wide eyes, filled with wonder. Can we always be together like this, Mommy? Sarah pulled her daughter close, resting her chin on her head. As long as we hold on to our love and each other, we can face whatever comes next. The sun broke through, illuminating their bond like an ethereal promise. Sarah smiled, knowing their journey was only just beginning. They had faced the darkness and emerged into the light, but the true battle lay in nurturing the love that would continue to guide them through all they would face in the future. Just then, a distant echo rippled through the air, a gentle warning of the shadows that lingered. But Sarah stood firm, heart steady. They would face the unknown together, filled with knowledge that love was the greatest light of all, and with that conviction, they turned away from the lingering shadows, stepping boldly into a new dawn, ready to embrace whatever awaited them. Thank you for following Sarah and Emma's transformative journey. Now here's your chance to take action. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss any of our next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and reactions. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support makes a difference, and true fans like you understand the importance of standing with us.